If you want to study medicine, or if you want to work as a doctor, or if you're confused, you don't know what decision to make, I think that this video can give you an insight. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video and share it to your friends and your loved ones. My name is Oxy. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. Yeah, this is a very relaxed video. As you can see, I'm on my bed. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing my experience as a medical doctor. I don't even know how to start this video, guys. My journey through medicine. Am I going to be quitting medicine soon? I don't know. So this video is going to give you an insight into what the medical journey is like, and I just want to share my experience and what I think about the profession, just so that I'm not rambling too much, because I tend to ramble. So I have decided to divide it into 3 parts: pre-medical school, medical school, and post-medical school, just so it just gives an overview of the whole profession. And mind you, this is my experience, and I think and I should believe that a lot of people will be able to relate to this video. So if you want to study medicine, or if you want to work as a doctor, or if you're confused, you don't know what decision to make, I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I just want to let you in on the things that you should know before you embark on this long journey because it's actually a very long journey. So if you don't know the whole idea of studying medicine, if you don't know what to expect, I think that this video can give you an insight. So pre-medical school, let's start from there. My experience, or did I always want to be a doctor? I think yes, I always wanted to be a doctor. I have never thought of any other profession. Everyone has always looked at medicine or medical doctors as that high level prestigious profession, which it is. Don't get me wrong, it is. Most people at some point in their lives wanted to be doctors, or wanted to be nurses, or wanted to be in the healthcare, just because it felt cool to be a doctor. Nobody really thought about the work that you have to put in. Nobody really thought about the extra hours, the sleepless nights. Nobody's thinking about that part. It just looks cool with your white coat and your stethoscope on your neck. I feel that's what a lot of us were looking at, especially with how it was presented to us on TV, So yeah, medicine has always been this very prestigious profession. I know one thing my parents always told me, or my dad in quotes, because he is my sponsor, right? But one thing I always heard from my parents growing up was that I should study a professional course. The times that we're living in now is very different from the times that they lived in. So I understand, growing up now, I understand why they asked me to study a professional course, or if they're supposed to advise me, they would advise me to take a professional course because of stability, because of, is the word assurance or insurance? Basically you are bound to get a job if you study a professional course. So security is what I was looking for, that's the word. So you're bound to get a job or have a job waiting for you. That's the whole idea. So I stuck to medicine. My mom was in the health sector. My mom was a nurse, but I noticed that she did not really like she didn't really like it, so she switched quickly. She loved education, so she switched quickly to be a lecturer in the university. I didn't really think that it would be a hustle, because the only thing I kept hearing was, it's hard, medicine is hard, but they did not explain the hardness of the medicine. They just said, medicine is hard though, are you sure you'll be able to do it? Medicine is hard though. And I was wondering, how hard can it be? People are doing it, right? It involves you studying, and we'll study now. What else can we do? That was the only thing I knew about medicine. It is hard studying medicine, but I think it also depends on the school or where you study, because your environments can make or break your journey, this journey that we're on. Literally, if the school is not teaching well, if there are not enough facilities, if there are not a lot of infrastructures and equipment for you to learn effectively, then you're not going to enjoy the experience. You're not going to enjoy studying medicine. I studied here in Debrecen, Hungary. I think the only issue, or the main issue, was the language thing, because it's not like they teach in English, but if you're going to practice, you're going to practice in Hungarian, because the patients are Hungarian. So even when we're doing a hospital practice, when we're doing internship and stuff, if you're doing it in Hungary, you don't get a full hands-on experience of how it's supposed to be. I don't know how it is in the US, but I think that people in the US get more experience, they do more work, they enjoy. Some of them are even considered doctors in their final years. So I think that that's the only thing that I did not really enjoy in my own time. So sometimes you will not even want to take the course serious, because you're just like, you're going there to just go and stand. When I'm going for hospital practice, there was no interest. I feel if you want to study in Hungary, if you want to study in Debrecen or wherever in Hungary, you need to actually show interest in whatever it is that you want to learn. I think if I was supposed to change anything, that would be one thing I would change. Like, just look for a way to make it fun for myself. Look for a way to, develop interest in whatever I was studying or whatever I was reading, just to understand the actual course itself. Yes, medicine is hard in the sense that you have a lot of things to read, you have a lot of topics, you have a lot of courses to read and pass. And here in Hungary, if you fail a course, it literally stops you from taking some courses in the next years, so it can hold you back. So at this point, you're not really thinking of after school, like after medical school. You're just thinking of how I can pass this exam and move to the next level. Take it 1 year at a time. That's how it was for me, or for most of us, because you can be very overwhelmed with the amount of work that you have to do, and in such a short time. So yeah, that was my experience in medical school. And our exams were oral exams. And so you know how oral exams are. If your examiner is not in a good mood, I'm sorry, you might not get a good grade, or you might actually fail the exam. So it just takes hard work and the grace of God, honestly. But I think that what I learned during medical school about medicine is that yes, you need to persevere. Like, you need to keep pushing. I know there are loads of people that dropped out. Like, there are loads of people that decided not to study medicine at all. Another thing I forgot to mention is that medicine is not cheap. Like, the school fees, the tuition fee is not cheap. So it's not cheap to study medicine anywhere. Yes, some schools are cheaper, some schools are more expensive, but bottom line is that it's not cheap. Maybe in Nigeria, I don't know how much school fees is, but abroad, studying medicine is not cheap. It's quite expensive. I'm talking about like tens of thousands of dollars. Before you decide to study medicine, think of that. And you have like 6-7 years. You've not included like your accommodation, you've not included your feeding, you've not included miscellaneous. That's a lot of money. Yeah, so it's definitely not a cheap course. Make sure that once you go into the profession, you are going to put in your best to work hard for this. If that's what you want to do, you are going to work hard for this. You might lose your social life, but there's always a way to keep a balance at the end of the day. But you might lose your social life because you have to study, sometimes study all night, sometimes study all day, 24 hours. Like, you have to study. That is one thing I also found out. I thought that I could go for an exam without having to study as much. Medical school humbled me. I need to sit my ass down and read and revise, sometimes read 3-4 times for me to actually get that thing in my head and remember it. There's a lot of work that has to be put in. You have to study smart, because sometimes you don't have time to study the textbook, so many pages for just one course. Now, if you know that you're better with listening, then I would tell you to use YouTube more, like study with YouTube more. There are ways to go around this thing in medicine. Now, if that is something that you cannot do, you cannot sit down for long hours to study, you cannot focus on one thing for a very long time, then I don't think medicine is for you. But there are people that did it all. I feel like you might find it more difficult because there'll be a lot of distractions, and you don't want to be distracted when you have some important things to do. So you want to make sure that you are not distracted. You want to make sure that you're doing things at the right time. You just have to know how to sit your ass down. Post-medical school. Now, what a lot of people do not know or have not known pre-medical school and in medical school is the extra work that you have to put in after you graduate. We're all happy to graduate because, you know, when you're in medical school, all you want to do, let me just get done with school. This thing is taking so long. 6 years. It goes by really quickly, don't get me wrong, but 6-7 years, that is so long. I just want to get done with school. I want to be, I have my degree, I'm now a medical doctor and all that jazz. But nobody really tells you or prepares you for the life after medical school. There is a lot more work that has to go in. There is a lot more money that has to go in. You have to pay for your medical license depending on the country that you want to work in. Anywhere you want to work in, you have to get the medical license to be able to practice there. If you're going to settle in the EU and you're going to go to a country that requires you to speak a language, you have to learn the language. That is more money. And in some countries like Germany, once you learn the language, and that's how you get the license. So you basically have to take the exam. You don't just learn the language. You learn the language and you take the exams, and the exams too are not cheap. You have to pay for the exams. Now, if you want to go to the US to go and practice, you have to take the medical exams, which are USMLE, step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think step 2 has step 2A and step 2C, 2 parts. I don't even know. There are lots of exams that you have to take. And more money, because it's not cheap. You have to pay for these things. Everyone just says there's job, there's work. Of course. I'm not lying to you. There are jobs, countless, numerous jobs for doctors. The doctors will always have jobs. That is the benefit of studying medicine. Like, you will always get a job. But the ability, the process to get into the system is not easy. And if you're not financially buoyant, it might be tough. Depending on how you plan your life, because at the end of the day, life happens. If you don't start early, a year, 2 years can pass you by and you have not started working. You're even confused on the specialty that you want to go into. A lot of people don't know. Kudos to people that actually know what they want in their life. They want obstetrics and gynecology. That is what I'm going for. It's good. One job solved. I'm telling you. But then if there is no space for you in that particular specialty, in that department, if there is no space, you probably have to wait, or you probably have to start off in another department before you are moved to that department once there is space. So these are the technicalities that people don't really know about. Sometimes people just settle and take any available position. I mean, you might end up loving it, but I'm just saying that was not your initial decision. One thing about being a medical doctor is there are jobs for you, a lot of it, but it takes a lot more work to get into the field. When you start working, I think this is even the main point of this video. When you start working, let me just tell you, be prepared to lose a chunk of your social life. I did a video earlier about, relationship and medicine and dating and stuff. If you've not watched it, please, I'll link it somewhere in the description box or something. You need to watch it and just get the two perspectives. Because here I would like to also say, if you're a family person, if you're the kind of person that wants to start a family, then watch that video. Watch that video. But you lose a chunk of your social life because medicine is stressful. When they were saying medicine is hard, I'm not really sure they were referring to the actual studying of the medicine. I think they were probably even referring to the job itself. Nobody really gave us this prior information about how stressful, how demanding being a doctor is. Nobody told us of the amount of hours that you're going to put in. You're literally working for hours. And when you come back, you are so exhausted, you don't have time for anything else. Nobody is telling you about the politics that actually goes on in the hospital, the competition that goes on in the hospital. That's why I was saying that an environment literally can make or break you. You can work in a very good hospital with nice colleagues and you actually enjoy yourself. You actually enjoy practicing medicine. This is real life. You're going to meet people. You're going to meet terrible people at different points. Like, it's just life. Honestly, it takes a toll on your mental health as a doctor. And I don't get a lot of people talking about that aspect. I really care about the mental health of doctors because the work is a lot. It's so much that sometimes they even pass it on the patient, in the sense that, like, I can actually understand when I meet not terrible doctor, but when I meet a doctor that is not really showing empathy, even though the main core of this profession is empathy. The main core of this profession is patience. A lot of doctors don't have patience. You need to be patient with your patients. Yeah, you need to be patient with your patients because there are a lot of people, there are different kinds of patients you're going to encounter. If you don't have patience, I think you should reconsider this profession, honestly speaking. The workload that is involved in practicing medicine, nobody talks about. There is a lot of work. Sometimes you work past your closing hours, and in some places you might not even be reimbursed. You might not even be paid for it. In some places maybe, yeah. Imagine having to do this every day. Of course, it's going to tell on your mental health, and of course you're going to start projecting on your patients, because when you know the amount of work that you have to do and a patient is wasting your time, listen, you might lose it one day. And that is not something that you want to happen. There are a lot of doctors that have stopped clinical medicine. There are a lot of doctors that have stopped, practicing medicine in the hospitals and stuff, because it's a lot of work and you don't have time to yourself. You don't have time for family. You don't have a life. You're basically, your routine is just basically go to work, come back home, sleep, and just continue the whole cycle again. Your life should have a meaning. You're serving humanity, yes, but at the same time, it's like you need to also live. You need to live. Another point, the pay is not the greatest. The pay at the beginning phase is not the greatest. honestly, which I think should change, because the pay is significantly low compared to the amount of bills that you have to, pay to get to this point that you have gotten to practicing. You spent a lot of money. You have spent a lot of money. Imagine if you took student loans. How do you want to pay back with chicken change? Quite alright, it gets to a certain point when you start balling. I'm not even gonna lie. When you become a specialist, when you become a consultant, and you start having multiple jobs here and there, yeah, you can ball. Another thing that I noticed is that doctors literally have to work 2-3 jobs to be able to enjoy the life that they want to enjoy. So imagine if you're working 2-3 jobs with the amount of workload that you already have, you will now add another job on top. You're probably feeling it in your weekends. The weekends that you're supposed to use to rest, the weekends are supposed to be for family, the weekends are supposed to be for yourself. It's a lot of work. And look at the amount of effort that has to go in just so that you can make even more money. You lose yourself at some point, and that's not what we want to do. Doctors are human beings at the end of the day. Another thing that I do not enjoy about this profession is the fact that it becomes boring at some point. The profession is boring. I'm not even gonna lie. It's so repetitive. I've met somebody that he has gotten 2 specialties, and to him it's like, okay, so what's next? Like, what else should I do? And I'm just like, this is the thing. This is the point I don't want to ever get to in my life. I want to always feel like my life has a meaning. I want to always feel like my life has a purpose. I don't have to be looking for something extra to do. I want to enjoy the journey of living my life. And with medicine, it's like, after you finish medical school, the next thing is residency. After residency, you become a specialist. After you become a specialist, I don't know, the extra thing that you want to do, become a consultant. And then what's next? That's why a lot of doctors, you see, they have like 2-3 specialties on their plate, because it's boring. So it's like, okay, I'm bored with this one, let me move on to the next one. I'm bored with this, let me move on to the next one. You see similar cases most of the time. You do the same thing over and over and over again. Sometimes you see interesting cases, or you see cases that you've never seen before. That's why I always tell people, even if you're a doctor, have something that is outside of medicine, have something that is outside of the clinical field, just so that it can add more fun to your life, something exciting, something different, something interesting. You see some doctors now are now approaching the social media angle, starting their own product lines. Because you don't have time, you don't do other things, you put yourself in this bubble. And one thing I also learned, or have learned so far, is that me even practicing, it doesn't really expose me to some certain aspect of life, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. For instance, being an entrepreneur or being a business person, you kind of get to do some certain things. First of all, you have to be creative, depending on kind of business that you're doing. It could be in terms of branding, it could be in terms of packaging, marketing. You start thinking in different aspects. You get to learn different skills along the lines. You start doing some certain things that you might not necessarily do if you were not in business entrepreneurship sector. But being in medicine just keeps you in a cage, keeps you in a bubble. I feel like you should try to incorporate other things in your life. Find something that you can do, find something that you love. And I know it's not for everybody. I know people that love this profession so much that they don't see themselves doing anything else. And that's totally fine. Know yourself, know who you are. There are some people that need structure in their life, because there are some people that just don't know how to divide their time. So they need this structure to be able to make them feel like, okay, yeah, they're doing something, and it makes sense. For me, going on forward, one thing I really like in my life is flexibility. I want to be able to up and go. I know eventually you get to have that freedom and luxury of time, but then how many years from now? I want to enjoy my life even while I'm young, even if I'm still working. Like, it shouldn't be a chore, it shouldn't be slavery. I want to enjoy it. I'm working as a freelance doctor, so in the UK they call it locum jobs or whatever. That gives them that flexibility. So you basically pick the time that you want to work. You can decide to spend time with family, you can decide to travel, anything that you want to do. And I think that that's what I want for myself. I want that flexibility. I want to be able to call the shot. There are other things I want to do in my life, so medicine is not the only thing I want to do in my life. And I don't want to, kill my dreams just because I'm in this profession, which I don't think that anybody should do. But if you really love medicine, then I say go for it. It's a very nice profession. I mean, you get to help people. That alone brings some sort of satisfaction and fulfillment. But I feel like for me, that fulfillment is so short. Sometimes you don't even have the time to celebrate and enjoy the moment. So far, these are the things that I have noticed. Obviously, I know that there are more things that I would like to say, and I'll probably do a separate video again on maybe things that you should know before embarking on this journey. I hope that this video was helpful. I know it's a very long one, but I tried my best to just fit it all in. If you like this kind of video, please give it a thumbs up, you know, share it with your friends and your loved ones, share with them so that they know the things that are going on in the medical field, things that they should know before actually studying medicine, things that they should know before they decide, okay, yeah, they want to become doctors. All right guys, so that's the end of this video. Like I said, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and of course share it to your friends and your loved ones. And I'm going to see you in my next one.